This little boy passed away, unfortunately. His hand twitched.
Help! Somebody help!
I was terrified.
I had an aunt who was put into psychiatric hospital. Things weren't like they should be.
I had both knees replaced. It's not for the faint of heart. I didn't realize how vulnerable it was going to make me.
I am telling myself, you're losing it.
That's when I saw the first glimpse of a shadow.
They were upset that I was there.
I just felt like I wasn't alone. I felt like there was somebody watching me. I didn't know what I was gonna find.
Just leave me alone!
This was not my imagination.
I didn't know why or what was following me.
This was a ghost.
It's 2010 in Denver, Colorado. In one of the city's hospitals, nursing assistant Amber Mackey begins her evening shift.
I've worked on the pediatric ICU unit. I would do everything from setting up rooms to helping run codes where you're getting supplies for everything, changing linens, answering call lights, helping support the families. Working on a pediatric ICU unit is probably one of the most difficult, but yet the most rewarding units you could ever work on. We see a lot of death, and that is the sad part about it. We see a lot of horrific trauma and accidents.
Amber thought that this night in the pediatric ward was going to be just like any other, but she was dead wrong.
I definitely just had like a heavy kind of feeling. Something just didn't feel right.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. I need you to set up room 25.
Sure, no problem.
Charge nursing. We have a trauma coming in. Some of these rooms, you know that if a patient goes in there and they're really critical, they're probably not gonna make it out. Room 25 is one of them. I see the gurney go through that corridor towards the room. There's blood dripping down onto the floor at that time.
Who's the patient?
12-year-old boy. He's been mauled by a dog.
The kid was playing in the backyard, and the dog busted through the fence and just attacked his face and his body.
Paging Dr. Stainsby to emergency. I repeat, Dr. Stainsby.
Once I saw him with the extent of damage and the amount of blood coming from him, I didn't know if it was gonna make it. It was pretty emotional and scary.
Despite best efforts, the little boy cannot be saved. Amber is tasked with creating a memento for the family.
We normally have a child life specialist that comes in and they'll create little memories for the family, like handprints or a footprint. And because it was the middle of the night, at this point, they were like, nope, like, we don't have anybody, can you make it? His hand twitched.
Help! Somebody help!
And I was terrified.
His hand twitched. He's not dead.
No pulse. He's gone.
You sure?
Maybe you're just imagining things. Come on, let's get these molds finished.
I was just waiting for something to happen again, waiting for the hand to twitch, waiting for the little boy to open his eyes.
I'll put these away for the parents. We need some more cleaning supplies and linen. Would you mind getting them?
Sure.
I had to go and get linen. We like to change the bed just so the family could see him cleaned up all the way before they left for the night. I had to go to our overflow unit because that's always stocked. I always have felt nervous going in there just because it's so quiet. It's like an eerie quiet. Just the emergency lights are on because we don't keep the lights on when a unit that's not being used. It's just very weird. It's just very scary feeling altogether just to go over there, even if nothing is going on. It just gives you the, oh, I don't know if I really want to be here. I see this little kid out of the corner of my eye, and I turned and looked, and there was nothing there.
Hello? Are you lost?
Where did this kid go? What am I gonna find? Am I gonna find something behind this curtain?
What the?
And there was nothing there. At that point, I was just terrified. As I am leaving, I am telling myself, you're losing it. Could that be that little boy from that room? I went down to the storage room just to get the supplies so I could get back to our unit. I start hearing something that sounded like a phone. Like, what if there's somebody in here? What if somebody was laying on the floor? And I think of the worst. I didn't know what I was gonna find. It was just the phone sitting on the couch. It was going off, but it was still hung up, and I didn't know how this was possible.
Hello? Hello?
And it still was going off.
Hello?
I just felt like I wasn't alone. I felt like there was somebody watching me. I didn't know what to do, so I just unplugged it from the wall and it went off, and I'm like, okay, this has to be defective. So I just beeline it straight towards the storage room. And at this point, I am terrified, just trying to put my code in as fast as I can to get out of there.
Oh my God.
I could hear a laugh. That I was like, I gotta get out of here. I slowly turned my head. There was a ball that was in the middle of the hallway that wasn't there before. I just wanted to scream and cry because I didn't know why or what was following me. I just had my eyes on the exit only and just straight lined straight out of that hallway into the main unit.
You okay?
I was shaking and I said, you don't understand. Like, I just explained the whole story to her of what had happened. And so she was like, I'll go with you. Like, I think you probably are just seeing things. And I definitely held on to her the whole time we went back over into that unit. And I kind of stood behind her and was like, you're gonna see this ball sitting in the hallway.
I don't see any scary ball.
It was right there. It was right there. I swear.
She thought I was nuts, and she kind of was like joking about it, like, there's nothing here. What are you talking about? You're losing it.
Come on, let's get this stuff back. Sounds like you could use a break.
I am just exhausted. 6 o'clock can't come fast enough to do change of shift so that I could go home and go to sleep.
I could put these away if you need to go get some air.
It's fine, really.
All of a sudden, a call light went off, and it happened to be the room that that little boy was in.
I wonder if his parents went back in there.
There was nobody in there. This nurse was just like, it had to have been just a fluke or a short in the cord. We'll just get a new call light for it. But I knew that that wasn't a fluke. I knew that it was not just a short in the cord. I, at this point, is getting that feeling that this is the little boy trying to just reach out.
I think the spirit might have wanted acknowledgement from Amber because he died in such a tragic, painful way. You know, he might be in so much pain that that's all he sees. He can't see anything outside of that. So he needs a human counterpart, a human guide that could release him.
The rest of the night, I went in, did vitals. I made my rounds to each room, make sure everything was stocked up. They took him down to the morgue. And I thought in my head, kind of whispered that, hey, I know it's you and it's okay. It's okay that you're here and that you're safe now. This has changed me a lot. I think about it probably on a daily basis, and with that, I always wonder, could I help out? Is there a way that I could help these spirits cross over or let them know that it's okay? When I have a patient that is getting ready to go, I will let them know, it's okay. We will be back. You can go, you're safe. You know, just try to give them comfort. I find that talking to them beforehand helps them go. And then once they do, I acknowledge them as if they were still there. I have a small boy at home. I don't ever want spirits to come home with me, attach themselves to me. I just would like them to stay where they're at so that I can go home and be at peace and be able to go home and be a mom.
It's 1984. Gord McLean is on his way to visit a relative.
My childhood was your typical, normal, happy, healthy childhood. Played baseball, sports, all the usual fun stuff. Had no problem finding friends or adjusting with people.
But there is something sad in Gord's young life.
Don't be nervous, sweetie. And Max is just sick right now.
I had an aunt who suffered from mental health issues. She was put into the psychiatric hospital several times throughout her life. And there was one time that I can vividly remember that we went up to visit her.
Gordy, just be a good boy for me and Mom, okay? We have an important meeting with the doctor.
I'd only kind of overheard the stories of the adults talking about what was going on there, so I didn't really know what to expect. The psychiatric hospital smelled like an industrial cleaner. Like it just had this very powerful disinfectant smell. It was very industrial and barren. There was no artwork, there was no color, it was all drab.
Mr. McLean?
Yep.
This is a very high security facility. I'm going to ask you to follow me. You're not to veer off. You're to stay right behind me.
We would be taken to meet my aunt in the heart of the building, which was down a whole series of different corridors. There'd be a security door. We'd all have to get escorted through that door. The nurse, she'd make sure that door was closed. So we would go down one hallway, and she would do the next thing at the next door. We probably did that 4 or 5 times. As a kid getting into this building, getting deeper and deeper, the hairs on the back of my neck are starting to stand up a little bit straighter. And it almost feels like there's eyes on me. I didn't know what was going on around me. I just knew something was going on.
There are no children allowed beyond this point. Will you take a seat on the couch, young man? And you two follow me.
They left me out in the hall. They knew it was safe and secure because we had just gone through all these security door locks. But I had that feeling that things weren't like they should be. I knew my parents were in the room next door. There was a meeting room where there was my mom, my dad, the nurse, a doctor. And still there was a feeling that something was there. I didn't know what or who it may have been. But there was something in that hallway with me. I just didn't know what was going on. I tried to put it out of my mind as best as I could. I'd brought a couple small toy cars with me. I got down on the floor and started playing with the cars. I would kind of roll the car down 3 or 4 feet before it would veer off. I'd run, pick it up, come back. I'd push the cars maybe 2 or 3 times down the hall and gone and collected them up. When I heard a sound, it sounded like clapping. It wasn't like your typical applause, but it was more like somebody just super excited about something fun happening. I stood up, looked around. It sounded like it was at the end of the hallway. Couldn't see anything. There was nobody there. I kept trying to find it. The hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. And there was nobody around that could have made that sound. The dread really started to rise up in me. I had that feeling that I wanted to run, but there was nowhere I could run to.
Kids like Gord are often more receptive to paranormal activity. Their minds just aren't as busy as we are as adults. Their brain waves tend to be a lot different than adults, and often if you've got a hotspot of paranormal activity, kids will be the ones to pick up on it, whether it be frightening or not.
I had to kind of just gather my thoughts, tried to convince myself that maybe I was just hearing it, that it wasn't actually there. But then this blast of cold air came from behind me and pushed the car down, not the 4 feet, not 5 feet, but pushed it down the entire length of the hallway. I heard the clapping again. It was very excited, like uncontrollable joy. It was almost like somebody or something wanted to play. I walked slowly down the hallway. This sense of terror and dread just came over me. This dread just kept increasing the closer I got to the car. The car had flipped over onto its roof. The car just started spinning, and there's no way that it could have been doing that. It was just spinning around and around and around, almost as if somebody had taken their finger and flicked the front of the car. It wasn't explainable. It just drained the blood from my body. I just felt ice cold. I had this pit in the bottom of my stomach and just this fear that I haven't felt before. I quickly reached down, grabbed the car, ran as fast as I could back down the hallway. I've curled up into a little tiny ball. My heart is pounding, I'm out of breath, and I just want to go home. I just want to go to someplace safe. That's when I saw the first glimpse of a shadow. It just didn't make sense why a shadow would be where it was. It was just there watching me, almost like it wanted me to keep playing with the cars. I just froze. I knew my parents were in the room next door, but I couldn't get to them. I tried to scream, but it was as if there was no air in my lungs. It was a face that I will never forget. And there was just this big smile on his face, almost like a crazy, happy smile. The arms and the body were in a straitjacket. It was moving towards me. This was not my imagination. This was a ghost. It was the most terrifying thing that I've ever experienced. My parents came out of the room. I instantly jumped up and I ran over to my mother and gave her a huge hug.
What's the matter, sweetie?
I could see the shadowy figure still down at the end of the hall.
What is it?
Do you see anything at the end of the hallway?
My mom said she didn't see anything.
No.
Gord, we're here now.
What is it?
I was playing with my cars, and then it started going by itself. And
I began to tell what had happened to my mom and dad.
And then I saw a man in a straitjacket.
They didn't believe me.
coming at me.
They thought it must have just been in my imagination.
All right, we're ready for you now. Come on in.
But I know what I saw that day.
Psychiatric hospitals are often hotspots for the paranormal, often because emotions are just raging. You've got the ups, you've got the downs, you've got the highs, you've got the lows, and wherever there's emotional activity, you get paranormal activity as well. And I think what was going on in this particular case was that we had an entity that was trying to relate to Gord on a very childlike level. And this can be quite common when it comes to children and paranormal experiences.
6 years later, Gordon McLean is looking through a history book in his high school hallway.
As the years went on, I kind of didn't really forget about what happened, but I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't until grade 9 history, where we were studying the First World War, that I was instantly transported right back into that hallway, curled up, watching that figure at the end of the hall. It was a picture of a soldier from the First World War, from the Battle of Passchendaele, where the caption underneath was "Unidentified soldier suffering from shell shock." And he had the same eyes and that same smile that I saw. The face was the same. The psychiatric hospital did take in a lot of World War I veterans that did suffer from what we'd now call PTSD. I think that maybe the ghost was a soldier from the First World War that unfortunately got put into the hospital. I haven't really told this story to too many people. It's not a story that I'm telling for adventure or fame or anything like that. It's something that happened, and I'm telling it just because it's a story that needs to get told. This incident has made me realize that we're not alone, and there are things that we can't explain. This isn't just my imagination running wild. There were too many things that I saw or I heard, from the clapping to seeing the car spinning on the hood. If it was one thing, maybe even I could write it off to just being my imagination, but when you stack all the evidence together, it adds up to something that doesn't make sense, something that shouldn't be, but was. I am still very skeptical of some stories, and some things can be explained away, but this is one story that I can't explain. So, do I think that ghosts exist? Yes, they do.
Just leave me alone!
It's 2016. Author Kitty Janis is about to undergo a risky operation.
I had to go in for what is a very difficult surgery. I had both knees replaced at the same time.
Nurse, let's get started. Don't worry, it's going to be fine.
It was a terrifying surgery. Essentially, they cut your legs off and reattach them. They slice your leg open, they remove the knee, then they sew you back up. It's not for the faint of heart.
Hi there. How are you feeling?
Tired, really tired.
I promise I will be out of your hair soon, okay?
I was excited to be out of surgery, look down and see I still had both legs on. They put ice packs on your knees, which are run through hoses that go into coolers, so it's circulating ice water around your knees. I can't move, I can't walk. I'm in a very vulnerable state, just lying in this bed, looking at my legs. I didn't realize mentally how vulnerable it was going to make me.
Is it there? She looks like an Ellie. But when Mark's in court.
I heard voices in the room with me. I couldn't tell what they were saying. Then I see these two girls. At first I thought they were real humans, some visitors who had been in the room. Then I noticed I could see through them. I'm looking directly at them and they're looking back at me.
Rest up. The night nurse will be here shortly to check up on you.
The nurse didn't see them. Every time I get that visual of those two girls, I still get the chills every time I think of those two girls.
What do you want from me?
I'm looking at their faces. They look really, really angry. They are not just looking at me, they are glaring at me. As I'm looking at these girls, I'm trying to figure out why they would be so upset of my presence. They weren't upset of the nurse's presence. They were upset that I was there. And I can only imagine that they were upset by the fact that I saw them. Never before had I had the urge to run, and never before had I had the inability to move. I felt so trapped within my mind and in my body as I lay there in the bed, and it was terrifying. These two girls turned to each other and spoke. I heard no voices coming from their lips. And I knew at that point they were talking about me. And I could only imagine what they were thinking about doing to me. And to this day, I'm just getting the chills again because it was the creepiest thing that I've ever seen.
Leave me alone! Just leave me alone!
They just completely vanished. I was feeling so vulnerable after the surgery, and to think of it now, my heart still races.
Kitty talks about two aggressive entities that she sees that appear to her as sisters, but she inherently knows that something's not right with them, that this is an evil force or something that's negative. This is likely a negative entity that was feeling territorial over its space. Kitty wouldn't leave, which was ultimately going to cause a problem.
Hi, Kitty. Is there if I come in?
I had to get some answers, so I waited until the night nurse came in.
Yes, please do. I have a strange question to ask.
Sure. How can I help?
Has anyone ever complained about this room?
I did not tell him anything I had seen or encountered.
Well, we get patients complaining about ghost children.
He says, we always get patients who say there's children in that room, standing, staring at them.
Like little girls?
Yeah, something like that.
There was no way I was going to get any sleep between staring at that corner and staring at the door, wondering what might be coming in. As the night progressed, I didn't see the girls anymore. But I'm just staring at that empty corner where those two girls had been, feeling the walls close in on me. I wanted to get out so bad.
Are you all right? You don't look like you've slept a wink.
I need to get out of this room.
Well, I have good news. I'm here to remove you from the recovery wing and into your new room.
I was so relieved to get out of that room. I thought, finally, I'm gonna go to a place where I can heal and I can get some rest, because I hadn't slept a wink.
Dr. Hannigan, call on line 1. Dr. Hannigan.
I thought at that point I was finally gonna get some peace. I wasn't gonna get any peace, because that's when I started hearing the voices. These voices were in the room. I think I was able to distinguish at least 10 different voices. And as I'm just laying there listening to these voices going back and forth, the lights start flickering. But now I see the shadows. These are shadow figures within the room. My heart's racing right now.
I call forth the angels.
And in my own exhaustion, I called forth the universe, I called forth angels.
Please help these tortured souls.
I need this to stop now. I need you guys to just go home.
Please help them just get home. Please guide them to the light.
And they finally just stopped. I stopped hearing the voices and I stopped seeing the shadow figures.
She very clearly and very definitively told the spirit she'd had enough. And that act of dominance, that assertion, was enough to get the entity to back off. So in this case, she was really fortunate. If it had have been left, however, and this had have continued, then she likely would have ended up injured.
Dr. Hannigan, please call extension.
Kitty spends 5 more days in the hospital with no further paranormal experiences.
Even to this day, when I retell this story, I remember those 2 girls and I remember those shadow figures. Seeing those 2 evil little girls standing in that corner glaring at me, to realize that there is still evil on that other side of the veil, that they do have the power to harm. And you have to have really strong personal boundaries dealing with the paranormal.